The first flower I would suggest anyone to grow is the zinnia flower. This was my first year growing this particular flower, and it was so rewarding because you get so many different colors, so many blooms that will last all throughout the summer. And I've noticed that I've had a ton of monarch butterflies coming into my backyard. Sometimes I go out and I see 4 to 5 at a time, and part of the reason is because they seem to love this plant as well. So the first thing that you're going to want to think about when you grow zinnias is that if you're going to have enough sun. This isn't a plant that does well in full shade or partial shade. It is a flower that requires a lot of sun. Number 2 is sowing. So zinnias grow best directly into the ground, and that is because they don't transplant well, and so over time you're going to have to thin out some of the seedlings to prevent overcrowding. And by pulling some of them out, you're going to allow more air circulation, which prevents mold and diseases and things like that. The next one is watering. Now when it's zinnias, it's best to water them early in the morning or late at night. And I would water my zinnias about every 2 to 3 days, depending on the weather. Now the thing about zinnias is they can withstand a little bit of a drier soil, but they prefer to have some water. So somewhere in the middle of that balance, you'll find to never let the soil become too dry, but don't also overwater. It's best to water your zinnias from the stem down to the roots with a light sprinkle or mist. And this is because you want to avoid the flower as much as possible, because if you're constantly getting the zinnia flower wet, you'll start to notice that the petals become damaged and brown. Again, you might not always have the time. A lot of times I end up using my sprinkler, or it can rain, so you don't really have control over that. But if you can, always do it by hand and try to avoid the flower as much as possible. So number 4 is about how to keep your blooms blooming all summer. So what you have to do is remove all the dead zinnias. You want to do this also to the zinnias that have just reached their bloom, their peak. Because every time you cut a zinnia, you're giving a chance for the plant to have energy to create more. So you're going to want to cut it at the stem right beside the piece where it branches off into 2 new ones. So as you can see here, that is what I'm doing. I'm just cutting off the stem right at the point where the other side will break off into 2. So this is why I love this plant so much, because I could make so many bouquets for myself, cut some for my friends, and it would just keep producing. So for all those beginner gardeners out there, or someone who's never grown flowers before, I hope this video encourages you to try growing zinnias. And in the next video, I'm going to be showing you how I took the seeds from the very flowers you see in these bouquets so I can use them for this year's planting.